Gonna do our 65 review.
Whoa.
Again, and to quote Cam with Quantumania, me and Tyler are not about to argue whether this movie is good or bad. We're about to argue whether this movie is absolutely horrendous or just okay. Tyler, let's start with you because you tweeted that this is a 0.2 out of 10 for
so low.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so first off I'll say like we can talk spoilers because there's really not I don't think there's anything to genuinely spoil here. Like there's not a single plot point that would like ruin anyone's experience. That's not just like me saying like it's a shit movie, doesn't matter if we spoil. Like even if I loved it, like there's just nothing to spoil here. So I think for me, like in all seriousness, I think I just have a really low tolerance for bad sci-fi. Like we saw it last year with Moonfall. Like I just hated the shit out of that movie when most people were like pretty in a similar boat. Like it's a really bad movie, maybe even lower on Moonfall than 65. What?
Y'all done with Scream?
Yeah,
we're doing 65 now.
We're doing 65.
Well, I see that now.
We're doing 65. You didn't watch? Did you watch 65?
No, but I have Scream thoughts, just general.
Oh, okay. Well, give us Scream thoughts quick.
I muted myself.
Why
I
did you
told
say
y'all to give me
Why
a
would you have
thumbs
thoughts
up.
on a movie you didn't see?
Okay,
Not
well,
Scream
I'll pause my
just
65 rant. Go for
Did
your
y'all
Scream
talk
thoughts.
Scream in general?
I thought we were
Yes.
going to do that in the
We talked everything.
Well, we kind of talked about where we think it would go in
Alright,
Scream
we'll
7,
do
but
that
that
with
kind of
watching. Go to
spoilers. I don't
65.
know.
All right,
65,
Tyler,
then.
keep going with 65.
Yeah. So I just have like a low tolerance for bad sci-fi just because like I hated Moonfall so much when I feel like a lot of people landed on like that's like a like sucked, but it's not like terrible. For me, like, so I saw this with my girlfriend because she's a huge dinosaur fan, and even she like hated this, but she's like, I'm giving it like a 3 out of 10 because I just like if dinosaurs are on the screen, I'm gonna love it.
That was me with Dominion.
This is a movie that I don't know from the opening scene, and I feel like anyone who like even moderately likes it and says it's average will like agree with this. The opening scene is rough, like the family on the beach. I thought that was really cringy and bad. Like I've never seen a family with such little emotional connection, which really kind of ties the whole rest of the film together because like it's like his whole motivation. And he's like he loses his daughter and shit. Like it's very predictable. Like in terms of like what the story arc is, it's literally The Last of Us, like the same thing. But so his daughter, every time she was on the screen for a callback or a flashback, I just wanted to claw my eyes out. She was just a horrendous actress who just needs to not ever be in a movie again. And like the whole
How old is she?
Like
she's probably like,
Yeah,
I
Oh
mean,
my god.
that was a little rude.
I mean, it's one of those things. She's probably like 18, but she like looks like 14, in the movies.
Oh right, okay,
But
that's fine.
yeah,
We'll
I don't know.
We'll find real age.
The whole whistling thing was just so corny, and then they just kept calling it back.
She's 15 years old.
You're horrible.
That was rude.
Whatever.
This is Tyler's Quantumania arc. I don't care what anyone has to say about it.
I don't know. It's just like, if you like this film, fine, but there's paper thin characters with zero character development. There's an unbelievable, unemotional connection. The premise is like interesting, but also incredibly stupid because there's no time travel in this movie. They're just aliens that lived during the dinosaur extinction. Not a single time travel instance. Cam, what's your question?
Are there two little girls or one?
Yes, it's The Last of Us. His daughter dies, so then he gets a new girl to go on a mission. Like that's like his newfound daughter.
Which one's the bad act? Is Naveen or Koa the one?
Koa's fine, but she doesn't speak
He's
English, so
talking
it's kind
about
of hard to
Naveen.
tell.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're talking about Naveen.
Yeah.
Okay, she's 14, so
Wait, Koa's older than Naveen?
yeah, Koa's older than Naveen. So
That's
you made
like
it worse.
That's surprising,
Son.
honestly. But Koa looks a lot younger in my book. But so, yeah, I don't know. He crash lands on this site on this planet where everyone else dies, but somehow all he has is like a small metal shard in his thigh after crash landing that kills everyone else except him and Koa. So everything on it, like he keeps talking about like how everything's broken on his ship when really like everything worked fine. Like he had all his scanners, he had all his weapons, but somehow the one thing that breaks is the translator. So Koa speaks a different language. They can't communicate the entire movie. So he's like trying to teach her things by drawing hieroglyphs to like explain stuff to her. Which, George, the one thing that like I laughed at was when they drew he drew the mountain and he's like showing we're gonna fly off. Why was he drawing such squiggly lines? Like that's so confusing. Like if you're trying to rocket take off, I would just be like, cause I was like, bro, you're gonna confuse. She's like 8-year-old girl. Like, why are you saying like we're gonna take off of this mountain? And I'm like, bro, like that's so confusing.
You are nitpicking right now.
I mean, no. So they're paper thin characters. There's no denying that. Like, there's nothing here to pick about for plot. Like, it's literally The Last of Us. Like the plot line. The dinosaurs are these big bad characters that get killed by a stab in the eye, like a big T-Rex. Like she stabs it in the eye.
I would say most large creatures, normally the stab in the eye is what gets them. I feel like that's a pretty common trope.
I think I would die if I took one to the eye.
Yeah, so
yeah, but you're
Probably.
not a T-Rex. I don't know.
That's kind
So
of fucked.
this movie basically has like 25 jump scares, and after the first one got me, and then from there on I was like, oh, this is just like really stupid. They're just gonna do like a whole like try.
Is it horror?
Oh, it's more scary than Scream for sure.
I didn't know it was in the genre as horror, like horror sci-fi.
You think this was more scary than Scream? Really?
There's like 20 jump scares in this. Scream movies aren't scary.
You also, no offense, you have like a low tolerance for horror.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I don't know. None of I think
I didn't find this scary, but it tried to be a horror more. I feel like because there was so many jump screams.
All
Like,
right, I get that.
or jump scares, but I don't know. I just hated this. I didn't think Adam Driver was anything special in this. I just thought there was a lot of stupid things that happened. The end was very anticlimactic. If you're gonna make I feel like making her not speak English was such a stupid character decision. Like just such a bad decision to have her be someone who just speaks a totally different language. Because
is it like Alien or is it like she speaks like Spanish or something?
No, Alien, some other random shit. But he's an alien that lived on a different planet during the time the dinosaurs came. But he's a white dude that speaks English, that's completely normal looking. So yeah, that's what I thought.
Weird.
Everyone thought this was a time travel movie. No, it's not. He's an alien. So just and like what?
Sorry. Is Koa then, is she from Earth or is she a different alien that only speaks
none of them
alien?
are from Earth. There's prehistoric time. There's no humans there.
Well, I mean, could have been like a caveman alien situation.
No, she was on the ship as well, and basically his daughter has cancer, or something, and in order to like provide for her medical treatment, he has to go on this. It's literally the Mandalorian.
This
movie sounds awesome. This movie sounds awesome.
I want to see it now.
I mean, yeah, like you liked Quantumania, so I think you'd like this just because I feel like it's similar vibes. Like there's not like the whole arc is.
Time out. I did not like Quantumania, but I had to defend that movie.
Shit was trash.
I cannot be on the side of enjoying Quantumania, or I guess I enjoyed it, but
I'll wrap up my rant there. But I thought the score was completely generic. All the acting before, even Adam Driver, I didn't care for, and I thought the CGI was pretty rough. Like Star Wars in the '70s looked better in their space flying scenes than this did.
Oh, time out.
And this budget was the same as The Martian, so that's just despicable. What, Cam?
Can I roast Tyler with fact and logic?
Sure.
Tyler says Naveen, played by Chloe Coleman, is so bad she should never be in movies again. Chloe Coleman plays Loak from Avatar 2: The Way of Water. Tyler has canceled the Avatar franchise forever. Congrats, Tyler.
That's unfortunate, but this movie is written by Scott and Beck, who wrote The Quiet Place Part 1 and 2, except for the fact that John Krasinski rewrote the entire script after they delivered it to him, so they actually didn't write anything of note. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Sam Raimi produced this. That's just a disgrace.
Tyler ruins James Cameron's career.
All right, let me do my little review rant. Like I said, I am not sitting here arguing this is a good movie. This is not me and Tyler arguing whether it's a good movie or a bad movie. It's arguing whether it's horrendous or like just okay. This is one of those movies, and I'll start here. This movie would have absolutely benefited from being like 2 hours long as opposed to the hour and 20 minutes that it was. Because I do agree with Tyler. Everything with like Adam Driver's family and the backstory in that family just didn't land for me. It did come off super corny, and there were moments in this movie that should have made me cry or at least feel something emotionally, but they just didn't because of how poorly the backstory of Adam Driver's family was built up. So I do agree with Tyler there. Everything on the beach, absolute ass. That could have been removed from my life. That would have made the movie better. I'm with you on that, Tyler. Don't you worry. I don't know what it is with Adam Driver, but everything he's in, he gives a really solid performance. And I think he carried this movie on his back because I genuinely enjoyed him in this movie. I was very nervous going into this movie. And like Tyler said, this is The Last of Us, basically. So I was kind of nervous going into this movie, expecting Adam Driver to like play this like protector type character, this mentor type character who literally just has to protect this young girl in a wilderness of dinosaurs. But he pulled it off. I mean, he was tough, he was gritty, he was very believable that like this was a character he should be playing. And then I think his relationship with Koa, the young girl, absolutely worked. I know Tyler, you said it like like just make her speak English. I kind of like that she didn't speak English. I think it just made for a very like emotional bond between the two of them because they have to like rely on each other without actually talking to each other, and it just made for this bond to just be a little stronger. Yes, Cam, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so sorry. I'm enjoying this, just listening to this movie because it sounds horrible to not very good range, obviously. So I just have a lot of questions. Koa does not speak English. Adam Driver speaks English, but they're together on this ship. Why don't they speak the same language? Never.
We don't know.
Right.
I said in the first sentence of my Letterboxd review is this film logically makes zero sense, but I don't care. Like I don't know what it is about this film. I swear to God, it's an hour. Again, I'm not saying this is a good movie. It's not, but like it's an hour and 25 minutes. It's just I had a good time with this movie. There was no part of this movie where I was like, wow, this shit like really, really sucks. There was parts of this movie, like I said, with his family and the backstory. The meteor shower was kind of ass. And I was like, okay, we could move on here. But I don't know. This movie just made zero sense. Why did he end up on Earth? How did he end up on Earth? Why do they speak English? Where the fuck are they from? Blah, blah, blah. I wish they dove into when his ship crashes. It is basically implied that like he's been away from his family for like at least a year or so, maybe even longer. Didn't feel like that. It felt like that was the first day he was flying off his planet. So I really do wish that they like made it feel like he was gone longer again, because there were some moments of emotion that should have hit way harder than they did, but they just didn't do a good enough job building it up. And I'll wrap up my review here by saying this once again. I think Adam Driver was great in this lead role. I think some of the action was very enjoyable and tolerable. I will agree with Tyler. There were a few too many jump scares. Again, I think Tyler just hated those more than I do.
No, I'm not scared by them. They're just, I think they're really
I think they're cheap. I completely agree. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I'm not saying this movie is great. But again, the one thing in this movie that is really holding it up for me is that central relationship between Adam Driver's character and the young girl Koa, because I really did enjoy watching these two together. The little girl was adorable, and it was just awesome to like Tyler said again, just watch The Last of Us just in a different setting. So yeah, I went with a 2.5 out of 5. Tyler went with a 5 out of 5.
I want to pull on one thread you were talking about though, because like this movie should have been longer, and everyone saw like it's 90 minutes, and I first said like I'm worried about that, and everyone's like, oh, it'll just be like 90 minutes of nonstop dino action, which let me be clear, that's not this. It's a lot of traveling. Dinosaurs are hidden for most of the movie, and then they kind of jump out at different times.
Like a cocaine bear effect.
Exactly. It's very much like that. I mean, there's a couple like small dinosaurs that are kind of just like on the set, just running around like little harmless, like they're not really involved. But yeah, it's not a dino action shoot 'em up movie. It's very much more like a Last of Us story about relationships. So that's why if you're making that kind of movie, gonna have to be longer to establish that emotional connection for me more. Whereas if this was a dino shoot 'em up movie, 90 minutes would have been great. But
that's also the thing.
Cocaine Bear was a great comparison.
A lot of people I think, and I was a little upset about it too. This movie was advertised as a dinosaur shootout movie, and there was I don't want to say severe, but there was a pretty large lack of action here. Mm-hmm. I think this movie focused a little too much on the central relationship, which I did enjoy. But again, this movie should have been and easily could have been like 2 hours. Like flesh out a few more plot points, give me a little bit more action, and maybe you get a 3 or 3.5 out of 5 for me. But an hour and whatever it was, 25, 26, 27 minutes. I don't know what to tell you. I enjoyed my time with it. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, like, it got a couple laughs out of me, I can't lie. Like, the whole final, like, using the projection, like, the hologram of his daughter to make the dinosaur confused and start trying to eat that when it's just a hologram to save them. I was, like, kind of laughing. I was like, this is fucking hilariously bad right now. And I think the main thing is just, like, and I mean, I was probably overly harsh on the actress earlier, but whether her acting was good or not, I just mean the family relationship in general. Like even his wife, like that was like the least. Like I felt like did they even give a shit about each other? Like actually, like not even just like not like I feel like they genuinely just had zero connection.
Yeah, that the whole family relationship was really interesting because there were so many moments where like Adam Driver was like reminiscing about his daughter or his wife, or you're watching like these hologram projections of his daughter, and it's just like you're doing all of this to like shove his family down our throat, but like you did not do a good enough job at like building up this relationship to one, even make it believable, and two, make me like emotionally invested in what's going on with that family. That is what holds this movie back like crazy for me.
Yeah,
like
that's
I think
sorry,
one more thing. Just if this movie worked at all on an emotional level, which I think it does a little bit between Adam Driver and Koa, but if it worked even more with his family, I think this would have been rated even higher for me.
Yeah, I would have loved if they would have just like, because it's just like such a stupid thing of why he had to go on the ship in the first place. Like we can't afford, like he's like not a pilot anymore. It's like we can't afford medical care, so you have to go on this like 2-year long trek when your like daughter's literally has like life-ending disease. So for me, I would have loved if instead that like wasn't even a plot line, and the whole like Last of Us storyline just came in from just like a quick just one quick sentence like, man, my daughter died like 5 years ago or something. So that's why he has this like daughter, because I do think the Koa relationship worked, but the fact that it played so much off of like his daughter and like you always kept seeing the flashbacks of his daughter, I thought that the whole his family stuff was rough. So I really wish it would have just been like, he doesn't have a family anymore. They died a couple years ago, but he hasn't really had a daughter in a while. So he finds Koa and he's like, oh, I got to be like a father figure, just because I think the family dynamics was really rough. And I don't know, the ending I thought was so anticlimactic. It's just like exactly what you'd expect to happen, which is why I'm really interested to know what the other ending was, because everyone knows like a couple weeks ago they were literally had A/B testing of like different endings. So it's like literally like the meteor shower comes like and destroys Earth and they just fly off fine. I was like,
how it ended.
It ends with the extinction of the dinosaurs.
That's awesome.
Hold on, Seth and Cam, if you don't mind me spoiling one part, even though we already spoiled the ending.
I don't give a shit.
Tyler, the scene where they like make it to the top of the mountain and they finally get to the ship. They're in the ship and they're about to take off. That ship gets pelted with meteors. Like that ship is in 10 pieces, and then at the end of the movie they just get it in and fly away like it's nothing. Like that ship got demolished and they just pop in and they're like, let's go, we're going. Like at one point that big T-Rex thing like bit the ship, like bit into it.
Oh yeah.
And then they were just like,
and they fell down an entire cliff and just like
they survived.
I want to say just on, I think this is a movie Adam Driver deserves. I think Adam Driver gives damn good performances in most things, and I'm sure he's fine in this.
No, he gave a good.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will not tolerate the Adam Driver slander here. I think
that's okay. I feel like Adam Driver's a good actor. He wanted a little bit of a bag, and I couldn't find how much he was paid for this.
I hope he got one. I don't know if he got huge one.
I'm sure he got a good amount of money, but they started filming on December 7th, 2020, and was done filming by February 21st, 2021. So this was a 2.5 month filming, and I'm sure he wasn't on set every day.
He was like,
good for him.
Yeah, he was like, okay, just give me a bag. And if I'm being honest, this is going to be a guilty pleasure movie of mine going forward.
Fair. Yeah, and I'm sure people will say like Star Wars is where he gets his bag, but I don't think people go onto a Star Wars set and are like, I'm just here to collect a paycheck. Some might, but I don't think when he was cast in that role, he was. So I'm saying good for Adam Driver. Get your bag, do a 2-month filming process and get out. So I'm sure this doesn't affect him at all, how this thing performs.
No, good for him. Get that bag. George, one other thing is like the technology in this world was super funny to me because they had like some pretty cool tech that was like super advanced, but then he also had a rope on him at all times. So I was like, what? This is like you have the most basic tool, but then you also have like a scanner that will literally show like where anything is at any given time. Is. And like the thing that I kept getting confused with is he kept saying like, man, everything's broken or shit. But I feel like everything they needed was fine. Like the water,
he used everything.
Getting clean water, locating things. Like literally everything was fine that he needed. The weapons, except the translator. It's like the one thing that breaks is like translating what you're saying.
The one thing he genuinely needs. Everything else, perfectly fine.
Yeah, and then bro
all right.
dislocates his shoulder and just gives her a piggyback fine right after it.
Disgusting. Also, that was so sick though when he popped it back into place and just immediately got up. Like, come on,
Yeah,
that was heat. I was like, that's so electric. All right, we'll wrap it up there. I did give it a 2.5 out of 5. I think this is just a super painfully average film.
Tyler didn't even give it a 2.5 out of 100.
No.
Right? Right?
What? What's a 2.5 out of 100?
Well, you gave it a 0.2 out of 10.
Oh, sorry, a 0.2.
That would be a
2.5. No, a 0.25.
Yeah, I was like, I don't go 2 decimal places.
Sorry.
But
a 0.25 out of 10.
And like I said, I do think people can get enjoyment out of this, but it's the same thing with Moonfall for me. Like, I feel like this is very Moonfall of me to rate it this low. Whereas, like, a lot of people will give it like a 2-star, which is fine, and I think a lot of people can get 2-star enjoyment. For me, it just seems like, I guess, bad sci-fi for me, just like I have an extra distaste for. I don't know.
Which
Tyler, I do think people can be fine with it.
Tyler, we gotta mention After Earth is bad sci-fi.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
You were so bugging with that take. You were so.
No, I rate After Earth pretty low too.
I think After Earth's like a 2 out of 5.
Stop. After Earth is a 0.5 out of 5, and it's in my bottom 10 of all time.
Yeah,
After Earth
I don't
is
know
so absolutely.
I think After Earth is a 1 out of 100.
I mean, to be fair, I think I give it like a 1 out of 5 stars, but that's higher than a 0.5.
I'd
my
have
take
After
stands.
No, I feel like you were a little kind to it earlier this week.
After Earth
is so bad.
Better than Ant-Man Quantumania and Wasp. Whatever it fucking is.
I'd agree.
By far.
I'd agree.
I would slightly, ever so slightly edge Quantumania because it's at least MCU. Who gives a fuck?
Bro, I appreciate your honesty.
Owen, if you're watching this movie, After Earth fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah, I don't like it.
All right, I went with a 2.5 out of 5. Tyler went with a 0.5 out of 5. Tyler, where do you think Seth and Cam are going to land on this?
Interesting.
I think Seth will text if he sees it in the theater. He'll text us 5 minutes in. He's like, "Oh, this opening is bad," because the opening scene is the worst part of the movie. I think so. I think like that's why I think it really just sets it off on such a bad tone. I think Cam will give it 2.5 out of 5, and I think Seth will give it a 1 out of 5.
Really? Okay.
I'm going to go a little higher for Cam. I think Cam's going to land at a 3 out of 5, and I also think Seth is going to land a little higher. I think Seth is going to land at a 2 out of 5.
I'll try and say nice.
To be fair, I don't really know. I don't know Seth's rating scale enough on like the super low end. I feel like I only know like from like 3 to 5 about where it'll land. So I actually don't. Yeah, I could see him going like a 2. I don't really know.
Yeah,
I'm going to guess a 2. I'm going to guess a 2 for me.
All right,